Michael and welcome to Angling Info.
Right, all the disabled ones, you have a go first.
Broken soldiers and Mongols first.
Mr. Conway, you want me to draw for you?
Yes.
Let's go on for Terry.
Draw me one.
Hold on then, Terry. Don't get running. Oh, peg 8. Oh, I want that back. Peg 8's all right, mate. Well, in fairness,
7. I've got peg 8.
Really?
you've got the flyer.
It means I'll get a quick getaway.
There's 2 more pegs here for broken soldiers.
You got me.
Two more pegs in here, 2 more disabled ones.
Who's disabled who ain't drawn?
Who's disabled who hasn't drawn?
How many have you got?
2 more pegs.
Is it? We're getting late.
You're eating a squatty peg, aren't you? You're in a squatty peg.
Yeah, go on and on.
Right, 1 more squatty peg
You
in.
don't look any more disabled than me. Can I have one of them?
There's 1 more squatty peg left.
Anybody next soldier?
Ex-soldier in the British Army, that includes Welsh.
Anybody from the Salvation Army?
1 peg left in here.
Dad's Army.
Put it in the main bag.
I broke my leg older already.
Right then,
You want 8, really?
I'll hold the bag. I'll get Terry to draw my peg out. Terry, you can draw me one out.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not drawing very well at the minute. What you got me?
Peg 30.
On the wrong side, but it'll do. Right. Lads, don't run off with your peg numbers.
Oh look. 8 on the bill. What you got?
Where you going, Joe?
11. No, 11 Ashleys, yeah, it's 11.
Where you were?
11 Ashleys.
Oh, so
That's Ashley's club ball. 11. Middle one.
Come on, get out of the way.
Dales.
last chance on 2 pots to make it. £4.75.
Oh, down there, yeah.
£4.90 then.
Move out of the way.
So we are on Matt's peg, peg number 26 on May Lake. Just gonna get his bag weighed in and see what he's coming out with. Got a nice little bag there.
Anything in the other net, Matt?
Say again?
Anything in the other
No,
net?
mate.
No, nice short.
47. £47.2.
£47.02 for Matt.
Yeah, for that -4.
About what the charity means and where we're going from next in fishing for ABF. Thank you. Richard.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much indeed. Hi everybody. My name is Richard Miller. I'm the regional director of ABF Soldiers Charity, based down in Bulford, and I cover Wiltshire, Gloucestershire, and Bristol in the main. But obviously, because Terry's one of our locals, I've come up here to be with you today. Just a couple of words about the charity, so that you know who we are, what we do, and where we stand. ABF for Soldiers Charity is a name that not everybody's necessarily that familiar with nowadays. We were actually set up in 1944 as the Army Benevolent Fund, which is what a lot of people actually remember us as. Set up by the Army for the Army, and thus we are the Army's national charity. We exist in order to help soldiers, former soldiers, and their families who are in need. The significant sort of points there really are need. It's not a nice to have, it's people who are in need, and that need could be absolutely anything, and I'll come on to a little bit more about that in a moment. And I would also stress that it includes families. So on some occasions we do help out, for example, estranged partners when a marriage is broken down and households are split up and all that kind of stuff. So we do help them as well. How do you qualify? Well, the answer is a single day in uniform as a trained soldier, and we're there for the rest of your life. So for any ex-servicemen who are around, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how little time you served or when you served, actually you can always come back to us for help. The next point is we're a grant-giving charity, so we don't own any buildings. We haven't got expensive holiday homes, care homes. We don't employ hundreds of staff to come and look after people's cases and so on and so forth. So it literally is a money in, money out operation. And again, I'll come back to that a little bit more in a moment. How does it work? Basically, as I say, we're a grant-giving charity. The grants go in two directions. Firstly, grants go to individuals, and that's the first priority. Who are those individuals? Well, if I take the three main age groups as 25 to 45, 45 to 65, 65 to 85, we're giving roughly the same amount of money to each of those three age groups, surprisingly enough, for different purposes. The older age group, obviously, it tends to be care home, mobility, help at home, that kind of stuff. The younger group, to be absolutely honest, it tends to be what I would describe as lifestyle problems. That's marriage breakups, that's getting into trouble of one kind or another, homelessness, and so on and so forth. But it really is a huge spectrum, and very often I'm asked, what's the oldest, what's the youngest that you helped last year? The oldest tends to be about a 100-year-old widow, commonly. For example, there's one lady who we've helped recently, who's in her 80s, was a former operative at Bletchley Park. Her boiler broke down in her house. She didn't actually have any money to replace the boiler. It was winter, so she was getting very cold. Council wasn't going to help because it was her own house. So we helped her, got a new boiler put into the house, got her warm again. Didn't actually take a huge amount of money, but it made a huge, huge difference to her way of life. At the other end of the spectrum, the youngest tends always to be an infant stroke 1-year-old child who's got medical problems and needs medical help at home, and that frequently, in fact normally, is the child of a serving soldier. And in the middle you get all sorts of characters like Terry, others, but it is a huge spectrum, and the need could be anything so long as it's a need. And it, as I say, goes from medical help at home, help with mobility aids, but it also could be training courses, it could be a whole raft of different things to try and get people, to give people a hand up rather than a handout, to get them back on their feet at a time that's critical for them. And our aim is to get money to people quickly. It doesn't take 2-3 weeks. It can be done literally at the end of a telephone call if it's that important. So that's what we aim to do. Okay, who are all these people who are in need? Well, I think it's worth pointing out that a lot of people today have been force-fed, that's the wrong word, have through the media, become very aware of Iraq and Afghanistan and all of the problems that has, or those two campaigns have generated. It is just worth bearing in mind that actually, statistically, those are relatively small beer. If you think of the size of the army in 1945, and indeed the army that a lot of the national servicemen served in, it was a very, very much larger organisation, and that's where the bulk of the veterans today are. Even if you look at the campaigns that we have fought, it is surprising actually what has cost the British Army most. Would anyone like to give me an idea as to which decade they think we had most soldiers killed in recent campaigns, ignoring Korea?
1950s.
50s? Actually, it's 1970s, and the date is 1972. 129 soldiers killed in Northern Ireland. Actually, of all the campaigns that we've been involved in recently, surprisingly enough, that's the one that has cost us most. And that is a fact that's very often forgotten. But actually, those are the veterans who are out there in the community in a rather larger army than we have today. So that's not to take away from the guys who are today have been fighting very hard in Iraq and Afghanistan, but actually the numbers involved are relatively small. So that's priority one, individuals. Priority two is we give money to other service charities. That might surprise you a little bit, but there are a lot of service charities out there who do very good work but don't actually have a huge amount of money themselves. And where do they look for that money? They actually look in many cases to us. Ourselves and the Army itself, the Army Central Fund, give out every year about £10 million to Army welfare cases. And that puts us and the Army together at about the same level as the Royal British Legion in terms of the support that they give to the Army, and the Royal British Legion are a very big service charity. So that's our second priority, other charities. Who are they? Well, SAFA, for example, get about £250,000 a year from us because they do all of our welfare cases for us. They do all the investigation. The Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League look after all the sepoys, askaris, many people who served the Queen but who are now in foreign countries. And again, they get about £250,000 from us every year to look after those guys who are in need. For example, Camel Corps soldiers currently in Palestinian refugee camps and have been for some time. We're effectively feeding them. So it's not just the British community, it's all those who served in or served the British Army during their lifetime. So there are quite a few of those around as well. Last category is other organisations that have helped the ex-service community. And as an example, I'll use Elaborate. It's a Christian organisation which have been producing homes and accommodation for homeless veterans. And they've done that in Bristol, in Gloucester, in Salisbury, in Wales. And again, we don't fund those homes for them, but we help with getting those homes set up. So that's the third example. Overall, through all those organisations, 72 other charities, about 5,000 individuals, total cost runs roughly every year at about 8 million to the charity. So quite an expensive thing to keep going. That's probably all that I want to say. For those of you who say, well, actually, why don't you hear about ABF, the Soldiers Charity, very much? I bring you right back to where I started out. We're a grant-giving charity. We don't actually run things ourselves. We enable people to plumb into those kind of activities by giving them grants. Those grants are all given through the regiments, through the corps, or through the SAFA or British Legion workers, case workers, who investigate those cases. And so we're all sitting, if you like, in the background as the Army's Strategic Welfare Reserve Fund, if I can put it that way, and that's why you don't necessarily hear about us. But in terms of who is giving out the money to actually help those other organisations, actually we're up there together with the British Legion as being the two organisations who are actually giving the money that's helping people to get out, hopefully, of the trouble that they are in. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for listening. Thank you very much indeed for coming along and helping us today. And that's it from me.
Section winner Albert Pierce. Well done, Al.
Come on, yeah. I've got to get him some money out of it.
Oh, you ain't gonna share it with William.
Give him a chair to stand on.
Very good tune on it. Speech, Al.
Did you get the tickets for your mother?
Ration book. Section on club. Joe. Joe one fish.
Oh, not Joey Bowden.
On the zip.
Summer's here.
Comes out, it's -4.
Mill. Matty Powell.
Matt, there you go.
And the second section, which is the real veterans, goes to T folks.
Thank you.
The winner of club pool. I tell you, he really oughtn't to have this today for his performance off the peg. Danny Maxfield.
Where's Danny?
I might have that back performance. Second on the club, Maestro himself, Chris Hill. Got to be performance of the day for first on the mill, that's me. Thanks very much. Second on the mill, Darren Bolton.
He's not here.
Is he not back?
Okay. His missus won't let him be out this anymore.
Yeah.
First on
Drinks are on
Dales.
Darren.
First on Dales and the winner overall on the day, Ash Price. Second on Dales, M. Richardson. And third on Dales, Steve Conway.
Stephen.
And lastly, the Super Pool. So again, well done to the winner of the match on the day, Ash Price. Second, M. Richardson.
He's coming out now.
What's your last name again?
There you go, well done, thank you.
Right, and lastly in the Super Pool, that'll be me again.